When I was a kid, I had all these ideas about what I thought it meant to be an adult. I would observe adults, I would interact with them, and then I would form my own ideas of what I thought my adult self will be like and what being an adult will be like. Little did I know, I got it all so wrong. And I wonder if anybody else has almost this sense of disappointment when you become an adult and then you think to yourself, I don't think this is what I was signing up for.
The life of a frog. That's the life for me.
So for the past 3 years, I've been thinking a lot about the idea of adulthood, and I was able to break it down into 3 different phases. And I wonder if anybody else can relate to these 3 different phases, because really I'm just looking for a friend here. I've never been so excited for anything in my life as I was about turning 18, graduating high school, and then moving to New York City. It was this incredible new chapter where you're a young adult about to go out and explore the world. And I don't think there is another phase in our lives that is so distinctly different and exciting as it is when you turn 18. Or for the American audiences, it's 16 or 21. It's a little bit confusing, but you get the point. I moved to New York City. I started going to an acting school. I was so excited. There were so many new experiences. There were so many first times, and there were so many new people and activities, and you leave the nest, so to say, and you're becoming your own person. And when I was 19, I actually started a personal training business in Manhattan, and I worked for myself and I built up an incredible clientele. Good morning, Friday, 6 in the morning. I'm on my way to train 2 of my clients. And looking back now as a 25-year-old, looking back at my 19-year-old self, it blows my mind the belief and the faith and the relentless sort of stubbornness that I had, that I just knew I was going to create a business on the other side of the world and be good at it, actually be able to support myself and work for myself. So I think the first 3 or 4 years of being an adult was highlighted so much by excitement, curiosity, and new experiences. But I think where the disappointment and the realization of what I thought being an adult is versus what it actually is, it really hit me when I started going to therapy. I love therapy. I am so grateful that I went through an intense period of working with a therapist, but those first 2 years of going to therapy were so difficult because everything that I thought about who I was, who other people were, what being an adult is like, it all came crashing down. I had these moments of, I want to go back to being a child. Please take me back. This is not what I signed up for. I thought that adults had it figured out, when in reality, adults are messed up and the kids have it all figured out. I think the biggest realization was that majority of adults, not all, but majority of adults are just big babies. It's a facade. There are big babies inside these grown bodies. And I started looking at myself, delving into my own babyish behaviors, so to say. And I realized how unconsciously I was behaving, how I was projecting my shit onto other people, how I wasn't taking responsibility. I didn't know what emotional regulation is. I wasn't aware of the fears that I had, how I was in survival mode constantly. I was so stuck in my head. I was dissociating a lot. And when all of these things came to the surface and I was able to look at it through the help of therapy, I was like, I can't deal with this, please. I didn't know this is what it meant to be an adult. And of course, you can be ignorant and you can be super unconscious and just go through your life, blaming other people, projecting your pain onto other people, and not taking responsibility for anything. That's one way to be an adult, aka a baby in a grown body. But I really had to face my own pain and face that who I wasn't really who I was. I simply had absorbed my family's patterns, my family's behaviors. At the same time, when I had all these realizations about myself, I looked out into the world and I realized that everybody is just like that. Everybody doesn't know how to deal with their pain and they project it onto other people. Babies have pacifiers, right? To like calm them down and soothe them because they can't really take care of themselves. Adults have alcohol, smoking, drugs, partying, gossiping, numbing themselves by scrolling through social media and looking at a TV and just binge watching stuff. These are our pacifiers. And when I started seeing all of these unconscious behaviors within myself, I looked around and I was so shocked that everybody else was living like this as well. There were very few conscious adults, and majority of us were just big babies, not knowing what to do with ourselves and trying to numb ourselves and distract ourselves. All right, so now what? I realized that I have all these unconscious behaviors, patterns, beliefs. I am not really my own person. I just absorbed everything from everybody else. What do I do now? Well, I only had two choices really. I can stay the way I am, and that would suck because I was not enjoying where I was. Once you see your behaviors and patterns and all the sort of shadow side of yourself, you can't unsee it. So either you have to live with it, which would be super miserable and painful, or you have to change. And change, like anyone knows, is very difficult. Changing habits and patterns and behaviors, which you have been practicing for years, if not your whole life, is really difficult. My therapist actually gave me a book to read, which was an incredible book, and there was a whole chapter about growing up. And I wanted to read a few paragraphs from that chapter to you because it perfectly embodies the difference between being a baby adult and a conscious adult. In a sense, what is generally called the life of an adult is really just a second babyhood. When we are children, the functions of nourishment, care, protection, release of tension, and comfort are provided by the parents. We grow up physically, but not emotionally. We continue to unconsciously believe we are dependent in ways that an adult human being doesn't actually have to be. You might believe it is wonderful to live the life of a child, to play and have no responsibilities, but if you look at the child, it's not really that enviable. A child is dependent, a child has no freedom. The life of a child is very restricted. The adult is different. An adult has freedom, an adult has choices. So you can't want to continue to be a child and then complain about things not being your way, because children don't have things their way. If you want to have things your way, you have to grow up and make them your way. Growing up is difficult and painful work. It takes a lot of effort, it requires a lot of commitment, and for me at least, it felt like a rebellion. It felt like a second puberty because I was resisting a lot of these new tools and I was resisting change and I was resisting the world, and I just felt upset and angry because I realized I just don't want to do this. But at the same time, I don't want to be who I've been up to this point, so I really have no choice. You can be 30, 40, 50 years old and still be a baby emotionally and behaviorally. Growing up and becoming an adult is a conscious decision. It's not a biological process, and I think that's really difficult to grasp. But I really commend all of you that are doing the inner work. You're delving deep within yourself, you're examining your beliefs, your patterns, you're learning how to change your behaviors. It's really difficult, and it's incredible if you are doing this work. I'm with you. I know it's hard, but it's so worth it, because at the end of the day, nobody else can come into our lives and save us and rescue us. That's not how it works. We are the only ones that can save ourselves.